And not to forget the approval ratings for Donald Trump, they've been plummeting as the weeks continue. Diksha.
Absolutely. And of course, to say that the pressure is subtle would be an understatement at this point, because we understand that Washington is under immense pressure. And even though President Trump continues to insist that the talks are very much alive with Iran, what we're seeing is that the counter coming in from Iran, where they've said that the communication is either halted or it's slowed down while the strikes continue. Now, I just want to understand from you, Mike, from Washington's perspective here, is there still a coherent diplomatic strategy or process that is in place, or perhaps, the ground reality is beginning to outpace the diplomacy at this point?
Well, the president and the administration, and it's not just in this conflict, in many conflicts, have kind of employed this double-track strategy. And it's not an either-or strategy. It's not either we're going to pursue diplomatic avenues primarily, or we're going to pursue military avenues. It's been in tandem. And the basic perspective has been, we'll open the door to diplomacy, we'll do whatever we can to get an agreement, but we're going to move forward with putting assets in place militarily, move forward with the threats, move forward with occasional strikes. It's not one or the other at any given time. And so it's no surprise here that even as the administration says that talks are ongoing, and again, Iran disputes that at this point, but even as the administration says talks are ongoing, they're not willing to pull the proverbial and literal trigger here on a military action at the same time to keep that leverage in check, to keep that threat in check. What good is the diplomatic leverage if you can't back it up if it fails? And so that's been the administration strategy, not just in this conflict, but elsewhere. But to the portion of your question here, it doesn't seem as if whatever diplomatic strategy is being employed has really gone anywhere. President Trump has been saying for a couple of months now, on and off, that talks have been progressing, that a deal is within reach. We've heard different versions of this, none of which have panned out at this point. So I think it's less important whether talks are actually happening, and I think of greater importance whether either side is willing to budge off of their red lines at all, because if they're not, you can talk all day and all night. It's simply not going to get you anywhere.
Right. And of course, there is that sense that we have been going in loops over the same process happening again and again, and we'll have to see if this coercive diplomacy actually is the result that the Trump administration is hoping for. But another flashpoint that has emerged as a byproduct of this conflict is, of course, what's happening in Lebanon. And, Trump recently claimed that he has secured commitments from both Israel and Hezbollah to halt attacks. Yet within hours, we saw fresh strikes taking place in southern Lebanon. Now, is this perhaps it has exposed the limits of American, leverage over its allies and adversaries in the region?
Hezbollah is a very unique matter when it comes to the Israel-Lebanon conflict, because President Trump can apply pressure certainly to the Israelis and certainly to the Lebanese, because he has leverage, immense leverage with those two particular countries. But Hezbollah, the Lebanese have been unable to solve the Hezbollah problem for many decades, and Hezbollah does not answer to the Americans in any way, shape, or form. They answer to Tehran. So simply putting more pressure on Jerusalem and Beirut doesn't really have an impact on Hezbollah. And those Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon as a result of more rocket fire from Hezbollah into northern Israeli communities, which have caused an immense amount of damage over the last few days or so. And so round and round we go. Talks took place again at the State Department today, direct negotiations between the Israelis and the Lebanese, with the Americans brokering. Talks will continue tomorrow. But once more, I think Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State and National Security Advisor, put it pretty succinctly in his testimony on Capitol Hill today. Israel and Lebanon could reach a peace agreement tomorrow. I think that's a little far-fetched, but his basic point is there is no immense disagreement between the Israeli government and the Lebanese government that would cause them to go to war. The problem has been, is currently, and always will be until it's over, Hezbollah. And still, we haven't really heard any solutions as to how the Israelis and the Lebanese are going to team together to once and for all take care of the disarmament of Hezbollah. Until then, peace, great, it's aspirational, but in reality, Hezbollah still holds the cards with the current conflict here, and there really doesn't seem to be a resolution, though optimism at least emanating from Washington that a solution can be found to that particular problem, even if one can't be found with Iran itself.
Yeah, but what's happening in Lebanon is definitely posing as a major hindrance to the overall peace process, because Iran has made it clear the war there needs to stop for any kind of peace agreement to be achieved between US and Iran. And we're also hearing of these reports of Donald Trump and Netanyahu having tough conversations. Let me just leave it there without getting into the specifics. But the fact that Israel has gone into Lebanon the furthest that it has in the last 26 years, it gives you the sense that this is not just self-defense from the Israeli side, but there will be more to discuss on that front. Mike, it was a pleasure speaking with you. More to discuss. Would look forward to speaking with you again.